Yes, like snow, just not in April. Exactly, Jennifer. So we're going to talk about youth engagement, and this is our theme for this quarter. So for this month and next month, we'll be talking about ways to engage youth, ways to use the PACE data to really have a youth buy-in. And it's a big part of Geoff Kolchin is going to be able to speak to the real importance of having the youth move forward and be a part of this, and they really become invested, and we see the results of that whenever the youth do become invested. So we're going to be talking about how we can engage youth. We have did we go past the panelists, Sophia? Oh, there you go. So Geoff Kolchin from PCCD will be speaking. Sophia, of course, is helping out. We don't have Lee today. He's at a conference and was unable to be here, so he passed the torch to those of us who are here. Phyllis was going to have a little piece, but she's also under the weather. So our special guest is Aleta Kammerer. Is that how you say your last name, Aleta? So from Mifflin County Communities That Care Coordinator. And she's going to really be speaking about what they do in their schools, what they do in Mifflin County. And it's been about a 5-year process, and she's going to speak on that. And we're hoping that all of you, please, any questions, any type of discussion, we really want this to be organic, because I think it is something that everybody is trying to focus on. We really do want to engage our youth. We want to have them tell us, what do you wish that adults knew? If you're looking at the PACE data, what surprises you? What are you seeing that maybe isn't reflected in this data? So I think that we really can have some good discussions surrounding that. First, we're going to look at our new social media post on Facebook. If you're on Facebook and so inclined, please take a moment to like and to comment. We want to know, what are the benefits of engaging youth in the PACE data? What do you see as in your area something that would be a benefit to having the students and the youth really look at this data and know what the survey is about? And instead of just going in and, oh, it's a test we do and they don't ever see it again, what would be some benefits that you see? So if you can take a minute, go ahead and go to the EPIS page and comment any benefits that you see, and maybe we can get some traction there and some discussion going on that. Next one, Sophia. Oh, there you go. So then Sophia's going to launch a poll here.
Yep. So we just want to know a little bit about your youth engagement. So just take a minute and answer this question, and I will share the results with you guys. About 30 seconds. Okay, well, it looks like our answers are slowing down, so we'll share this with you.
Okay, so we're about half and half, a little more on the no side. So I think that's important for us to know that we have some that have engaged the youth, some that have not. But I think hopefully within this month and next month, we'll be able to provide you with some tools and some insight. If you want to move forward, if you think it's a benefit, that we will be able to help you do that. All right, and I'm going to pass it along to Aleta, and she's going to share. And I know she'll probably touch base on this also, but as Sophia said, she has a couple interviews with youth that were willing to put their face on camera, which is great. We know how hard that is sometimes for those high school students to do that. So they do speak very quietly. So you may have to turn it up and really open your ears to be able to hear what they're saying, but it's good information to have. So there you go. Aleta, thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you today how youth involvement looks in Mifflin County. So I do have some slides. I'm going to try to share my screen and start that for you. Okay. So does everybody have the shared screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So as was stated earlier, this has been about a 5 or 6 year process for us. So just keep in mind, this does not happen overnight. But when I came on as a community care coordinator here in Mifflin County, one of my first goals was to actually have youth involved. And so that was a jumping point for us with the coalition. Some of the things that I feel are very important when you are starting this process of looking at youth engagement. For me, I feel that you need to have school administration that is on board, that understands the Pennsylvania Youth Survey and how important the information that we gain from the survey is to our community and to the youth. We're very fortunate that our administration here in Mifflin County School District is a very active part of our CTC coalition and our Positive Vibes group. The other component is that your coalition is on board and that they truly value the input from youth and want the youth involved. Students, obviously, we need the students. I indicate there, they need to be involved in the entire process from start to finish. I think it's invaluable for them to understand why we do the PAYS, what the PAYS is telling us, and then why we can set goals from the data. I found a school liaison to be very beneficial. I am not located in any of the school buildings, so this was an individual, she's actually a teacher, that was a liaison for me. She understood school policy when we were talking about doing different things, if that could maybe happen or couldn't. She was my go-to. She's been an important piece of the puzzle, creative ways to get a variety of students interested, involved, and flexibility. Their schedules are challenging. It's challenging to get a large group of students all at one time in one place. So just trying to be very creative. We use the Remind system. It's an app on the phone. We use that to do voting, to schedule meetings. We really, that's our main source of communication is through the Remind app. I targeted different groups of students in the high school when we started this, so that I didn't just have one class or one club of kids. I was trying to get students that had very varied interest and grade levels. So our high school is 10th, 11th, and 12th. Flexibility, we meet before school for 20 minutes. We'll meet after school. We've met at the park. We'll have meetings over lunch. Food's big. Kids, if they're coming, want to be fed. But we do a lot over the lunch hour for them, so that I provide the food and they're not missing a class period. They're missing lunch, but still get to eat. And then the other piece is opportunities. I think this was important to mention. It is part of the protective factors for the opportunity to be involved in pro-social activities. And so you can see here, our kids will speak at Rotary clubs, at Kiwanis. They speak at our CTC coalition meetings. We try to get them out in the community. We utilize local newspapers, different things to showcase what the group is doing. So the kids took the fall of 2017 PAYS, and it was not until the spring that we were able to really analyze the results of that. I wanted to explain a little bit what I call data day. So members of my coalition sign up for a team, and we break down the pays into different groups based on the categories of pays. And then that group of individuals will look at that section and analyze it. And they actually prepare slides for me that kind of indicate what were the biggest takeaways, what's trending, how we compare to the state, what looks really good for our kids, what doesn't look so good for our kids. They kind of take all the information in one section and compile it down so it's easier to look at and kind of like at a glimpse, see what is occurring for our kids in that target area. So students are invited to the data day. They are part of that. They hear all the pays information. And then there's a follow-up meeting for strategic planning where we take what we heard at data day and what we voted as our priority risk and protective factors and start looking at what goals we need to do. This process has happened every 2 years for us. One thing we did different in the beginning that I have not continued to do, although I think it might be a great idea to get back in there and do this again. But back in 2018, we did a focus group. So the high school allowed myself and a coalition member to go into one classroom, one teacher's classroom, and we got the opportunity to talk to all 6 periods of her students. And we picked the class, it was, what was the name of that? It's kind of like personal finance, but it was an elective. So it had students from 10th through 12th grade. It had students, honor students, non-honor students. It just had a variety of kids in it. And that's what we were looking for. We didn't want to go to like an honors English and just speak with those kids. We tried to pick a class that had a variety of students. We talked to about 70 kids that day in total. And we just read the data. We read the data about mental health and said, what do you think? Makes sense, not make sense? We got a variety of feedback, but it was all very similar in that the depressive symptoms was a huge concern for the kids. Mental health stigma was a huge concern. And so when we got together to do the goal planning, what the students asked for was to have a group of students that the primary focus would be to improve the school climate, spread kindness, and reduce stigma surrounding mental health and promote suicide awareness. We do have a little clip from Aleta telling us how she appreciated the opportunity to be involved in Data Day.
So it felt really good to be a part of Data Day because it made me, and I'm sure some of my other club members, feel like we are making a difference and getting our word out and letting other people know our opinions and not just like other adults.
I do apologize. I know they're very quiet when they speak. Rainey spoke about this.
Data Day is really interesting for me because it's always interesting to see all the data and everybody's standpoint on where their mental health is. And it really drives what Positive Vibes does because we really want to increase the mental health awareness in the school.
So when we first got started, took us a while to get some traction. We called ourselves the Promote Positivity Group. We had several meetings where we just kind of floundered. We wanted the students to lead this group, but it was kind of hard because they didn't know where they were headed. They just knew they just wanted to do fun stuff and be kind. And we were like, how's that tied to the data? Took us a long time to kind of talk through why we were doing what we were doing and what we wanted our outcomes to be. And then all of a sudden, it just took one idea. Honestly, we talked about, so in our school, a lot of like the Key Club and NHS and Ski Club and all the different groups have t-shirts. I don't know, t-shirts are a big thing for our kids. We said, well, I don't know, do you want to just like, do we want to get t-shirts for the group? Like trying to kind of make a visual and unite us and whatever. Yeah, we didn't know. And it was later that night, I was at home and I had a student reach out to me via text and said, think we should do t-shirts and can we tie-dye them? And that is what it took. It took her reaching out and making that suggestion. And so what we did from that was like, let's not just do it for club members. Let's make this our first activity. We'll do it for all the kids at the school. And so that very first spring, we held a tie-dye event and we had 500 t-shirts. Not a clue what we were getting into. It was so fun, but it was very overwhelming. We had 500 t-shirts. We invited the school and we invited community members. The back of the t-shirt, because we did not have our slogan at this point, the back of the t-shirt said slowly replacing negative thoughts with beautiful colors and positive energy. So we thought we'll take a white t-shirt, we'll have that slogan, we'll tie-dye it. It was a hit. That was really the jumping off point for us. It had a lot of kids excited. It had a lot of kids wanting to be involved. And so by 2019, they voted on a club name. So we changed from Promote Positivity to Positive Vibes. You'll notice the PAWS for paws because we're the Huskies. So we got the Husky paw print. We adopted our slogan, Be Kind, and the official logo. Kids did an Instagram page, Facebook page. And by that time, we were ready to relook at the data again based on the 2019 survey. So again, the kids were all involved in that. We've only really had one major activity at this point. I thought I would share a little bit. This is Asia and what surprised her about being involved with CTC.
The only thing I was surprised about is how the adults actually let the students talk and how they heard us out. The only thing I was surprised about is how...
So, Aaliyah.
So something that surprised me with this was just how concerning some of the statistics are, but also how supportive the adults I was around. They seemed like they were really hearing us out and able to listen to us and going to offer support. So something that surprised me.
Okay. So as we went into the summer of 2020, we continued to solidify this group. The kids became more and more vested in the club and what they were doing, and they were able to determine a mission statement and a vision statement. This was a long process. The kids did excellent with it, but it was a very interesting process to try to facilitate the kids figuring out what the mission and what the vision was. So I was pretty proud of them when this is what they came up with. I'll give you a minute to read through. The other thing I don't have one here, but to make note of is going into 2021, they also wanted to have officers voted for the club. So as you see throughout this, we have Rainey, Asia, and Aaliyah. They are the president, vice president, and vice president of marketing. So those girls were voted into those positions. We had officers now for 2 years. So that was something, again, that I think just kind of solidifies that group and really makes them own what they are doing. Just to share a little bit, this is the annual tie-dye event. Like I said, we started with the saying on the back. Once we adopted our slogan, we started putting the "Be Kind" on the front. Here are just some pictures to show you. And this year, I added this in because we expanded just from that activity there at the school, inviting the community members, actually taking it out into the community. So this year we did a campaign of Reverse the Stigma, which was on the back of the Be Kind t-shirts. And we had colored t-shirts that we then reverse tie-dyed. We took the Clorox, and so in the bottom left, this was a blue shirt, and we reverse tie-dyed to get the lighter greenish looking colors on it. We collaborated with the district. It became the football theme for that home Friday night, neon and Be Kind. We handed out information. We were able to put announcements throughout the football game about different mental health statistics, crisis lines, information. And as you can see, a local TV station out of Harrisburg was there and captured some of what was going on for the evening and interviewed some students. So kind of really upped our game this year too, with, just kind of keeping with the tie-dye, but trying to make a greater reach out into the community and surrounding areas. Another annual event is the button contest. So we started that in 2020. See, we had our winning design, and then 21, 22, and we are getting ready to put out the information for kids to submit for 2023. They really seem to love them. You see these pins all over the place. You see them, we take them into some of the younger grades as well. So you see them on younger kids' backpacks or jackets. The art club, the art classes have gotten involved in the last year. They've made that part of one of their week's projects. So they have to create a button. So we have a lot of submissions, and then we hold a meeting with the kids. All the kids are invited, as well as coalition members, and we take all the submissions and kind of reduce them down to 8. And then we put those 8 out to the student body, the entire student body at the high school. And we come up with our final winner. So the entire student body has the opportunity to vote on what they want their button to be for the year.
I feel like most about positive vibes is I love the environment in school, the days we do activities, everyone just seems happier and more positive. I feel like most about
This is another very popular activity. So the first two, they're big undertakings, especially the tie-dye. That's our huge event for the year. The button's another, more expensive. It's a big project. This one takes some time. The kids, as you can tell, they are so creative and put a lot of time and effort into the artwork for these. But we do a Post-it note campaign, and you can see by the top, we just line the walls with just Post-its, and we ask people to take them if they need them, or share them if they want to spread a message or give a message to somebody else. But this is very popular. I still have mine on my laptop. You see them at teachers' desk. You see them around the school. So that's pretty cool. We try to do an activity once a month. That doesn't always happen, but we're pretty consistent with monthly events. So certainly couldn't put them all up here, but wanted to just point out a few. Last year was the first launch of PBIS at our high school, and they administration reached out to our Positive Vibe kids and asked to be on that committee. So we kind of partnered with them. I'm not sure that you could see, but this is a Be Kind keychain. And then we had these paper keys that talked about PBIS and a key to success. So kind of tried to collaborate with them. Just popping in to say, sometimes we'll use like a national holiday and try to put a kindness spin on it. So we popped popcorn all day long and gave out bags of popcorn, and the kids had to take one of these stickers and they wrote a note. Here we have, don't worry, be happy. But it was interesting. The kids really liked this, wrote notes to teachers. I was surprised by how many kids gave to teachers and bus staff. And I, at one point, said to one of the kids, like, take this box of popcorn down to the main office, because those ladies can't get out to come up to get popcorn. And he came back and his box was full. And I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, some kids already took down to them. And I thought, that is neat. That was the coolest thing. So we did that, random acts of kindness, celebrate World Kindness Day. Again, see how creative and talented they are with their rock painting. We do high five days. Take one, give one, smiling is contagious. This was just a month that we chose to hand out 2 lollipops. And the idea was tear those apart and give one of your lollipops to somebody else. You can tell even our resource officers are, involved with the kids and like being active and participate with the Positive Vibes group. So kind of try to hit everybody in the school. Our cafeteria ladies loved it. Everybody came out at one point to do a tie-dye shirt. And we have tie-dye, we'll wear our Be Kind shirts. We'll pick certain days to wear them. And it's really neat to see the whole school with the shirts. And we also try to do community events. And you can see we did trunk or treat. Our town, Lewistown, has a First Friday event. And so we sponsored one of those. Gingerbread house contest. The Kindness Among Us is an Easter egg, a large cardboard Easter egg. They hide them throughout the town, and then they have contests to find them. And the one on the far right is a mannequin that we did for part of the Festival of Ice celebration. Together we make a difference around the bottom. That's kind of like the tagline for our Mifflin County CTC. And it was super cool. The kids came up with this idea. They have cutouts around the bottom, and every other one is a picture of actually one of the students in the club. And then they drew a face, and then it's a picture of one of the students. So that was kind of neat. And our hope with being out in the community is just really one of letting the public see what these kids are doing and how hard they're working to make a difference among their peers, among themselves, and in their school. And to also kind of spread that message of mental health does matter and kindness matters, and providing resources to the community at large. So I had asked the kids this question. I am so sorry, it's hard to hear.
So one thing I wish adults knew, or wanted them to do, was listen to not only us, but also their own children about their mental health struggles, because I feel like some adults will hear about this stuff or hear about it with other kids, but they don't treat it as such with their own kids, because it's like, oh, where did I mess up or something like that, when in reality, you can have mental health issues without parenting styles. So I think that's really important. So one thing I wish adults knew.
One thing I wish adults did was understand that all kids are individual and not group us all together. All kids do this, all kids do that. I wish we just more had our own personalities in their minds.
parents and adults knew was that sometimes we feel really alone, and the best way to help us not feel alone is just to let us know that they're there for us and that they care about us.
And just to kind of wrap up, I think for me, I can't stress enough the importance of having youth involved with the PAYS data as the groundwork for what the youth would determine is their focus. So based on the individual data in whatever county, maybe the youth group would focus on more of alcohol or tobacco, other drug use. For us in Mifflin County, the kids really, the mental health data spoke to them, and that's why they wanted the positive vibes group. I think youth involvement focus can look different based on what area you're from and what the kids that you're involving want. So I think that's important to know, and you only know that based off of your data. So having them involved right from the beginning and in that process is imperative. The data for us drives what we do, and why the kids think there is a need to be doing what they're doing. I have one more clip here.
So my experience with the PACE data was actually really good. I think it was a great opportunity for all of us to get to talk to each other, and more importantly, to talk with the adults, and let them know what is actually the student perspective. And I think that drives positive vibes, because that's really what we're about, is getting the word out and reversing the stigma.
So I guess just to kind of wrap up, give them the opportunity and they're going to shine. You know, it just took, like I said, one student to make a suggestion, and everything bloomed from there, and keeping kids involved and vested in it. They're very creative. Let them lead. They'll come up with the ideas. Let them lead. You can tell by the ladies that spoke, means a lot when the adults listen and are there for them. And so I couldn't be more proud of my coalition. The coalition members are very supportive of the students, and it's working for us here in Mifflin County. So
That's great. Aleta, we have one question. Trina wanted to know if you could talk a little bit more about what you did during the day-to-day and the elective class, how you kind of proceeded with that.
okay, so I'm not sure I understand the question on what I did day to day. So let me answer
On the day-to-day.
Oh, for the data day. Okay. So prior to the data day, I had coalition members sign up for different teams. And so we did alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. We did school climate, mental health, systemic factors, all the different categories. And those teams met probably on average 3 or 4 times each. And they would look at that section and discuss what they felt the biggest takeaways were and what they wanted to share out in a large group setting. So maybe some of the most alarming data, maybe some data that shows what our kids are doing really well, showing what our kids are struggling with, anything that was a big difference between local and state that was concerning, or trends, whether we trended up or trended down, those type of things. So each group did that. And then we had a data day, and it's all day long. It's long. It was like 9 to 3. And each group, the team leader would come up, and each group would present what they found. And then at the end of that day, based off of everything that everybody in attendance heard, I have them vote on what they believe should be the top 3 risk factors to target and the top 3 protective factors for Mifflin County. And once we do that, then we do go in and look at like what the actual PAYS has based on data and statistics. And we're usually pretty close. there's some differences, but we go with what the people in attendance vote on. And there's discussion about all the data. So the kids were there, and often we'll say at the end of each section, did that make sense, or anything alarming, or anything didn't seem right? And they're very talkative. Our kids are great. They talked a lot during data day and provided a ton of kind of anecdotal feedback and things that they feel would be helpful. You know, it was interesting. One of the things was around underage drinking, and our data shows 6th and 8th grade students that are drinking. The majority of those kids are getting the alcohol from their parents or from the adults. And the kids in attendance, their perception was, yeah, we hear you do the parents who host lose the most, but nobody ever gets in trouble for it anyhow. And they said, we know where it's happening at, but like, who do you tell? Well, so what they wanted to do this year is they're going to advertise the hotline to call. So that was kid initiated based off of them hearing that data. Because I'll be honest, I didn't even know there's a hotline to call and report that, but that came up in the meeting when they said that. Somebody else in the meeting knew that, and so that became a goal, and that was the kids. So that's how we organize that day, and then we do meet again, like I said, to do the goal planning.
And there's
Does that
another
answer the question?
Trina, did that answer your question? You have a couple questions. We'll let Trina. Yeah. Yep, it answered her question. We have a couple questions from Jennifer. 3 questions she has. What are creative ways that you have used to involve a variety of students? How do you have the funding to hold the events and purchase supplies? And have you seen a change in your PACE data?
So funding, I am very fortunate that Mifflin County Communities That Care is funded through our local needs-based budget. And so I do have a line item there that allows for the positive vibes activities. Creative ways. So trying to reach out to different groups. So I think, you know, some of your easy ones to think about would be like your National Honor Society kids and Key Club. But I also went to journalism classes and provided them information and statistics and asked if they would want to write. So it became part of their school project for that week to write an article on the data, trying to kind of spark some interest in it, and invited them to come to that the first data day. We use the media students. They've been involved before with some positive messaging campaigns, but media students to come to the meetings. I've utilized emails and information out to the athletic director and different sports teams. One of the things is we don't have any cutoff. It inevitably, after we do an event, we get some more kids that will like come to the next meeting because they're intrigued or liked what was going on. And so a lot of our clubs, you know, you have to kind of sign up in the beginning of the year. And that if we don't do that, you can come whenever you decide that you want to join. Yearbook, we've gotten some kids. I've reached out and asked the yearbook staff, the photographers, to help take pictures, and that kind of has pulled them in, that they come and attend the meetings. Trying to think of, well, the other was doing the focus group an entire day at the school with one teacher that we saw about 70 different kids that day came through. Does that kind of help answer?
Yes. Yep. And definitely lots of praise for you and the work that Mifflin County is doing. They are lucky to have you. And I think that it's definitely, as you said, not something that happens overnight. This has been a 5-year process for you to be able to really engage. I have a question. Your district representative, is that
Yes.
is a teacher? Did you say that? Is that a teacher?
So the liaison, yes. So I do have a teacher, and it is very nice because her classroom kind of is the hub. Like
Okay.
anytime they're doing an event, the kids know to go to her room to get the things, or like if we have something, right now we're doing a Stick Together campaign. So we have mental health stickers, like the vinyl stickers that'll go on the bottles or laptops, that it's okay not to be okay, and the crisis line number on it, and mental health matters. I forget, there's 3 or 4 different designs, but so they'll announce on the morning announcements, like Stick Together in 2023, like mental health matters. And if anybody didn't get a sticker and wants one, they can go to her classroom and pick up. Like if they weren't there the day it was handed out or whatnot. And we have posters hanging around with QR codes to take you directly like to a text line or chat line. So that's what they're doing right now. That's their activity right now. But she becomes the hub for all of that. And it's nicer because like to hang up that poster with the QR code and whatnot, for me to do it, I would have to go through the process of a solicitation form and send it in and all. And as a teacher, she can walk down to the principal and say, can we hang this? So her knowing some school policy and kind of getting through some of the steps quicker makes it very nice.
Very good. All right. I think I don't see any other questions right now. So thank you very much, Aleta. Very much appreciated.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Before you, well, you're still here, so it won't matter. But can you put in the chat your webpage or the website for the communities that care? Do you have one of those? Somebody had asked about the resource for that.
Yeah, so the website for communities that cares in the process of being revamped. I will put in the Facebook information and Instagram information.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, well, thank you. Let me add my thanks to to that presentation. I think we just got a wealth of information about not just why it's important to engage kids, but how to do so. And one of the things that we wanted to share is, as you're starting to think about what it means to involve your youth, is this really nice graphic, the ladder of youth voice. And what you can see is kind of all the different levels of different ways that youth can be involved. Sophia, you want to start? There we go. So you start off at the bottom. You have where it's the adults basically telling the kids, here's what we're going to do. Here's, why we're going to do it. And I'm the adult, therefore, listen to me. We know that doesn't work very well. The next step up is kind of, okay, we have youth involved, look at how great our work is because we've got kids that are participating. Then moving up to the third level of non-participation is what they refer to as tokenism. Where youth may be involved, may have speaking engagements, but really are more of a token role. They're not involved in the actual decision-making or anything else. Moving into the kind of degrees of participation, the higher you climb up in this ladder, obviously the more engaged your kids are going to feel. And I think you heard that from our Mifflin County colleagues, is how surprised it was for the kids to be asked what works. What do they want to do? How's the best way to do that? So you can see that the youth inform adults, they're consulted and basically transform what adults are thinking and how they come about it. Adults being willing to question their own take on things is important because we need to recognize that we're not living those life experiences. Where we were in school, for me, it was 30 years ago, even more than that, actually. to date myself, but it is a completely different world. So if you want to engage students, if you want the students to engage their peers, you need to listen to them. So you can see adult initiated, and that's, I think, some of the ideas about helping facilitate things, but taking the kids' ideas and running with them so they're able to make them happen. Youth directed, initiated and directed. This is where you have the youth as really the decision makers, the ones who take the lead and move forward with starting ideas and directing the initiation of those ideas. And then finally, making sure that youth and adults are pretty much equal in the decision-making process. One of the things that we always encourage our communities of care sites to do is to have a youth council, a youth advisory board, some role that youth have where they're not just taking part in the events, but they're actually informing the leadership. Here in Adams County, our youth actually have the ability to sit in and inform the coalition, the course that they're going on, and where the priorities need to be. And I think that goes back to what Aleta was talking about, the day-to-day. One of the worst things that we hear from kids about the pays is, oh yeah, we took the survey and no one ever told us what happened, what the results were. And I think that's a big thing that we often miss. We use the data. We recognize how important the data is to drive our decision-making as communities of care, as coalitions, as people trying to make a positive impact on our youth, our families, and our communities. But we need to make sure that the kids see the results of what they told us. And they can provide more insight into, wow, I think that's being underreported, or, well, I don't know if the kids actually understood what they were being asked in that question. So I think that the day-to-day is a phenomenal idea that I would encourage all of our CTC and coalition to kind of look to do and partner with the schools. We've had other school community partnerships where they've actually used class time, where they've had their social studies class or their math class or their health class, kind of look at the data and do that as a class activity where they got credit for. It's a real data set. It is an actual student reported results from the kids' mouths themselves. And having that be part of the information process for schools not only gets the kids engaged and involved, but really can provide that insight that I mentioned before. So moving forward at the state level, we're really looking forward to trying to come up with a variety of different ways to get this youth voicing more involved in our decision. We just recently funded what we're calling Youth Justice Advisory Board, a series of 8 pilot projects. And this came out of the desire of our oversight committee here at PCCD, which is our Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Committee, the JJDPC. To talk to kids that were system involved and find out what works and what didn't, so that we can produce better outcomes for kids that do make a mistake and become involved with the juvenile justice system. What is the best way to prevent them from, we refer to as recidivating, but from committing future acts in the future, as well as helping them develop into productive members of society and succeeding in their own lives as they decide. So you can see we've got them scattered throughout the Commonwealth. We just started this project, and we're hopeful in partnership with Epicenter. We're looking forward to really trying to identify and engage with communities that are not system involved, that those kids that are involved with the prevention initiatives throughout the state. How do we connect them? How do we make how do we create the ability for kids in Mifflin County to talk with kids in Adams County, to talk with kids in Westmoreland County, to talk with kids in Philadelphia, to share those ideas, to say what worked. Hey, we tried this approach in our school and our principal got on board with it. You might want to try that. Or, we have our school resource officer who's heavily involved with this and has really become an ally to us instead of, someone to be more afraid of. It's not just a police officer, but it's kind of someone that we can talk to with our problems. It's things like the hotline that Aleta mentioned. We know that this is going on, and yes, the LCB, Parents Who Host Lose the Most, is a great idea, but if there's no ramifications, how effective is that? So we're really hopeful that over the next year or so to really build those sorts of connections across all of our communities that do engage kids. And in kind of a final wet your whistle as to what will be coming down the pike. We are working with EPIS on the development of a whole series of educational modules, we're calling them, a prevention learning library, where we take all the resources that we have around the best practices of prevention and make them available to the Commonwealth at large. And 3 of the modules that we're working on are involved with coordinating youth-driven work. How do you connect youth, and why is it important to engage the youth as part of that prevention planning? How do you go about engaging them? What does that mean? What examples are out there that you can kind of implement in your community? And then finally, how do you sustain it? How do you ensure that if you have some very highly motivated youth, that the effort continues after they graduate? How do you get your kids to recruit that next generation of their peers to take over, kind of pass the baton to once they graduate and move on? And then if they stay in the community, how do you keep those kids engaged with the coalition work as they move into young adulthood? So those are some of the real exciting things that we have going on at the state level. But I just really want to give props to Mifflin, and we'd love to hear more ideas from the field that you'd like to share. Please feel free to reach out. Elise will share a kind of a feedback email link that you can kind of use. What's going on in your community? We'd love to compile these, share them with with your colleagues that are involved in this work. And if you need assistance trying to get going, trying to get started with engaging your youth, we can put you in touch with some of these kind of peer-to-peer mentoring. You know, I don't think I'm selling Aleta out here, but I think that Mifflin County would love to share what works, either the adults, the successes they've had, how they've gone about doing it, or maybe even putting your kids in touch with their kids. You know, there's nothing better than having that, you know, kind of people talking the same level. It's not adults talking to kids, it's kids talking to kids, adults talking to other adults, trying to find ways to have that success in the prevention efforts that we all know are so important. You know, one of the lines that I always use, I'm sure most of you heard me say this before, is you can spend $1 now of prevention, or you can spend hundreds of dollars dealing with interventions across all the systems: juvenile justice, school dropout, dependency issues, drug and alcohol issues, mental health issues. So it really behooves us to sell the message about the importance of early upstream prevention to our communities. Mifflin is one of our few communities that has been successful in getting into the needs-based budget. For those people that are not familiar with that, the needs-based budget is money that goes to county governments. Every county has a budget, and they use for a variety of projects. Unfortunately, the majority of those dollars often go to those deeper end penetrations where kids and their families have already experienced the problem behaviors. So it's the sites that have had success in getting that message of prevention. And it doesn't need to be a ton of money. We're not talking, you know, millions of dollars here. Just a little bit to support those efforts really can pay off for the county and for the communities that are being served by the leadership that makes the decisions on those need-based funds. So I'll pause there, and if anyone has questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. At least thank you for posting that link. And you know, we'd like this to be the beginning of a discussion. We have another exciting webinar around youth engagement next month, and then you know, keep an eye out for those prevention learning modules that'll be kind of coming down the pike and available for the public at large.
And that's great, Geoff. And I think that those coming down the pike will be very helpful. And also next month, really, we'll have 3 other speakers that are going to be speaking of their successful youth engagement and using the PAYS and what they have really tapped into. And I think all of us, as long as we can have a nice community and be able to reach out and talk, I think that's where it all starts. As long as you can, you know, how did you do this? Well, we're trying to do this. It's not working. And Aleta and the 3 speakers next month, I know, will be more than welcoming those questions. Let's
Well,
see,
and I
Sophia,
was-
are the needs-based budget state funds that go to counties selected. Is that correct?
Every county gets needs-based funds. It's up to the counties to decide how those funds are utilized. And again, it could be the county commissioners that make that decision. It could be children and youth. It could be a partnership of children, youth, JPO, and the Sioux County Authority. Each county does it differently, but it's the idea of, when you're doing your outreach, when you're working on your coalition building, don't forget about that audience. Speaking to your county commissioners, getting on the agendas for these sorts of meetings and letting them know what you're doing and the involvement of your kids really can go a long way in making the case and having them say, yeah, this is worth supporting. There's a huge payoff for having this sort of work so that we don't have to worry about where do we send a kid for placement, be it dependency or delinquency, or how do we get mental health services in a rural county where our kids are really struggling. I love what Aleta was saying about the mental health. The PACE data across the board is showing just how dire the need for mental health supports are. So the more you can give that peer support, the more you can let kids know they're not alone, I think the better it is. And so that's, kudos to Mifflin and to our other communities that are really embracing that work around supporting mental health needs of our kids, especially coming out of the pandemic.
And as we wrap up,
Geoff, if I could-
Aleta, I know I want you to talk here just a minute, but before
Sorry.
people start to drop off, no, you're fine. Sophia has the link for the eval. Please do that so we'll be looking at next year. We'll be looking at what's happening coming up, and we really value the input of those of you who are here. So if you can please click on that link before you go, and you'll have the slideshow. There are obviously some slides we didn't get to that'll have some resources for you, but you'll have them, and everybody who was in attendance will have those. So Aleta, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
So I just wanted to mention, I do have a Mifflin County Commissioner as part of my key leader board. So he is part of and very active in our CTC coalition. So as Geoff said, that's a huge plus. The CYS director is involved with our coalition. And then, like I said, our school administration and different school personnel that are involved in the coalition. It's the collaboration and the relationships that you can make in the community that can help with those building blocks to maybe get you to have a component of the needs-based budget. And the other thing I wanted to say is kind of answering what Geoff had alluded to earlier is I'm absolutely fine if people want to reach out. I am sure the students would love to talk to other youth if that is something that you'd want, and we could somehow organize that to actually hear from the kids about what they're doing. I would be very open to helping facilitate that. So thank you.
And that last comment was from Donna Gordy, who was a longtime veteran of prevention and the former county commissioner from Blair County. Good to hear you. Good to hear your voice, I guess, via text, Donna.
Elise, I think you're muted.
Sorry, yeah, do that evaluation. We're obviously a couple minutes over, but if you can do the evaluation, the links on the PowerPoint at the end, if you have any PACE questions, there are links there. We'll be starting recruitment. We'll be talking about that as we move into spring for the 2023 administration. So a lot of things going on, a lot of good things, a lot of positive things, and you will each have all of this information. And if you need anything, you can reach out to me directly, and hopefully I can help you with anything that you need. All right. And I think we're good. So everybody have a great, short, long month.